bring in Michael Shifter for insight into Peru's political chaos. He's the former president of Inter-American Dialogue, a think tank. Thanks so much for your time there, Michael. Now, Wednesday was perhaps one of the most tumultuous days in the country's recent history. Give us a snapshot of the political turmoil that has led to the ousting of Castillo.
Well, I think from the very outset, Castillo has had lots of problems. I think it was clear to a lot of Peruvians. First of all, he barely won the election. It was one of the closest elections in Peruvian history, and much of the vote that he got was against Keiko Fujimori, the daughter of the former authoritarian leader Alberto Fujimori. And so he came in, I think, quite weak to begin with. He had no governing experience. And it became quickly quite clear that he was not really up to the job. And then a series of corruption investigations started by the prosecutor in Peru, and there were 6 corruption investigations that were underway. One of them accusing him of really running a kind of a criminal operation from the National Palace. And so there was a lot of discontent, a lot of confrontations with Congress. And there were several attempts to impeach him. But days before Wednesday, there was some revelations from somebody who talked about Castillo being involved in bribery schemes and the like, which seemed to be that he was not going to be able to last, that there would be an impeachment vote. So what Castillo did on Wednesday was to preempt that vote, really, which looked like it could be successful by calling emergency powers, dissolving the Congress and the like. And this, of course, led to the resignation of all the major figures in this government, and the armed forces didn't go along with it. And this led to Congress voting overwhelmingly then to impeach him and remove him and oust him from office. Right now, he tried to seek exile in Mexico, but right now he is in the same prison on accusations of rebellion with the former leader Alberto Fujimori.
Right, but turmoil isn't just associated with Castillo. I mean, the country has had 6 presidents in 6 years, 3 of which were in 1 week. Why does the country think things will be different now with President Dina Boluarte in place?
Well, I think there is a sense of relief more than anything else. I mean, it was just, Castillo had reached the end. That was clear, and it was unsustainable. I'm not sure there's great confidence that President Duarte, who's the first female president of Peru, is going to have great success and will be able to really stabilize the situation. But at least it seems marginally better than it was under Castillo. She's named her cabinet. The cabinet, although not filled with great heavyweights and well-known figures, seems to be of a higher caliber than the cabinets that Castillo had. And of course, he changed ministers constantly. So there was this sense of a very high level of instability. She may be able to stabilize things a little bit. But the fundamental problem that caused the crisis of Castillo persists and may create a lot of turmoil and instability in the days and weeks ahead for the new president.
And protesters are continuing to protest on the streets. The turmoil in Peru reflects similar patterns really across South America, with democracies plagued by poverty, inequality and corruption, being tested by rising populism and general distrust of the political elite. Do you think that this is a victory for democracy, or what challenges do Peru face given that protesters aren't leaving?
Well, I think it was a victory in the sense that institutions in Peru responded quite well. And given the circumstances, this is the best resolution, the best scenario. But I think this is not a time to celebrate. There's enormous discontent. Peru is the countries where there's the greatest level of distrust against institutions and political leaders. Clearly, the new president does not enjoy broad credibility. The Congress is held in lower regard than Castillo was. And so that's why there's a demand for new elections, which I think the Congress is going to fight and resist because they're very comfortable in their position. So that creates, I think, is going to be a recipe for a lot of a lot of tension.
Okay, Michael, really appreciate your time. Michael Shifter there, former president of Inter-American Dialogue think tank. Police in the